of life. My name is Muriel Ballin, and in this series of videos, I am guiding you on the journey to change your mindset, to change the way you look at situations, at relationships, at events in your life, and in that way, change your experience of life. A few weeks ago, we started with step one, claiming your power, and last week we dove into the first story of that step, which was the prison of perfectionism, talking about how perfectionism has this disempowering effect on the experience of your life. And today we are going to talk about guilt and the effect it has on your life. Now, as for all of these videos, I'm speaking from my own experience and the journey that I took to change my mindset about all of these subjects, all of these emotions, and all of these experiences, and really changed my life. So guilt, well, for most of my life, I was the queen of guilt. Guilt was my constant companion. And I had so many levels of guilt. There was guilt for not being good enough, not being a good enough daughter, a good enough mother, a good enough friend, you name it. I had this really deep feeling of not being good enough, and there was guilt that would always surface. Then there was guilt for feeling so-called unacceptable emotions like jealousy or resentment or anger, and I would feel guilty for experiencing those. And then there was also guilt for doing or not doing. For instance, reading a book while I was supposed to be cleaning the house, or not going to the gym, or eating the wrong foods. So there were so many levels of guilt and so many triggers for guilt in my life. And I never realized that I was actually the one who was in control of this guilt. No, what I did is I blamed other people and I blamed situations for making me feel guilty. I had no idea that there was no making me feel guilty, that it was basically a decision that I could make. I feel guilty or I feel not guilty. That was it. There was nothing or no one that had the power to make me feel guilty, but I didn't know that. So I was blaming other people and I was blaming situations for putting that guilt on me, and I did not like feeling guilty. So that led to anger and resentment. I was angry at people and angry at situations for putting that feeling on me, and I was resentful. And so guilt and resentment and anger are very low vibrating emotions. They really take your power away and bring your experience of life down. But I didn't know that. I had no idea that guilt was an inside process, that guilt was not something that was put on me by people or situations outside of me, but that it was something that was born inside of me. And that basically the key to feeling guilty or not feeling guilty was love for myself. Because if I could love myself unconditionally, then there would be no guilt. Then there would be nothing, no words, no people, no situations, nothing at all that would ever have the power to make me feel guilty. I was the one who was giving that power to these outside circumstances. But as I said before, I did not know that. So it was in 2011, after my cancer diagnosis, that the big shift came for me. Because when I started my journey and I started examining and diving into all the beliefs that I was holding on to and that were basically causing these major experiences in my life and these emotions that I did not know how to deal with. It was when I started diving into that I discovered how important guilt was and what an effect it was having on how I was experiencing life. So I started to look at the triggers, what was causing me to feel guilty. And when I was doing that, I found that basically my guilt was born out of me not being good enough, me having the feeling that I was not good enough. And that was a very, very old belief that I was holding on to. I was not good enough, and therefore I could not love myself unconditionally. So I started working on that because I realized that there was nothing I could change. I could not change other people, and I could not change situations or events. But what I could change was myself. And the way that I was changing myself was the way that I was looking at my guilt. I was taking my responsibility. I was claiming my power and becoming aware of the fact that nobody, nothing had the power to make me feel guilty, that I was the one who was in charge, that I was the one who could decide whether to feel guilty or not. And that was a really, really big shift in my life. Because as I said before, guilt was so very present in my life. It had such a big influence on how I was experiencing life. It was weighing me down so much that this shift was major for my experience of life. And it was not easy because it's so much easier to blame other people or situations for feeling guilty. So it's a big step to claim that power, to take that responsibility and become aware of the fact that you are the one who's actually making yourself feel guilty, that you are the one who has that power inside of you. So it was not easy, but with small steps and with really looking at my triggers and really step by step claiming that power back, like really being committed to accepting that power was what brought the shift. And step by step, as in every single one of these videos, it's with small steps that we claim that power back, because it is indeed a big change in believing whether it's other people that are to blame for how you feel, or whether taking that full responsibility upon yourself. That is a big shift. But it's an important shift, and it is one of the shifts that leads to ultimate freedom and to the best experience of life. Because as I said before, guilt and the anger and the resentment that it brings about are very low vibrating emotions. And they are not really adding any value to the experience of your life. By letting those go, by shifting those into the power that you hold inside and the love that is residing there for yourself, that is when you create this unlimited, open, free experience of life. And that is why I'm sharing my story. That is why I'm sharing these videos, so that all of you may experience that freedom and may experience that major shift that comes from just basically step by step changing your mindset, step by step just shifting how you look at life and how you look at the experiences, and having the courage to take that responsibility over your own life. Because you are the one who creates your life. You are the one who is responsible for how you feel and what you experience in this life. And it's an amazing journey to be on. So for now, I would like to leave you with just a few tips on how to start on this. And that is, first of all, try to let that concept of you being the one who decides whether you feel guilty or not, let that concept sink in. and see how you feel about that, because there will be resistance. I can guarantee you that there will be resistance, but that's okay. So just take the time to let that concept sink in, to accept that responsibility, to claim that power, that guilt is something that is born inside of you and that is not being put on you from outside. Just take the time to let that sink in. And as a second step, look at what triggers your guilt. What are the people or the situations, the events that are triggering a feeling of guilt inside of you? Then look at that and really feel the trigger, acknowledge the trigger, and so that the next time it comes up, that you are more aware of the trigger and that you can step into that power inside of you, because the trigger will be attached to a belief or an emotion from your past. So that is what I would like to leave you with for today. And as always, if you would like to reach out to me about this subject, or would like to talk to me about it, learn a little bit more about my journey, then please don't hesitate to do so. As always, my website is listed below. So send me an email or leave me a message, and I will get back to you. I will be more than happy to share with you and to guide you further on your journey. So that was the story for today. And again, thank you so much for joining me. And well, I would like to let you know that next week we will be talking about stress and the influence it has on your life, and how people experience stress in different ways, how you can look at it in a different way and change the influence it has on your life. Again, thank you so much for joining me. I do hope that you will be there next week again, so that together we can explore the stories of stress and the influence they have on your life. I enjoyed being with you today, and for now I say goodbye. Have a good day. Till next week.